All right, guys, we are live with the Wise Guys. I am Statsational, not the Geek. He is gone today. He's got a very important business, that Geek. But of course,
he's on Butler business.
That is right. He is a big time loser of the Butler bet, as I am a watcher weekly. I don't think he's won one. He claims he's won a couple, but I don't think he's won too many. Because how are you, brother? It was
What's going on, Statsational?
Yeah, we've been wanting to do this. We've been wanting to get me on there with the Geek, but the Geek couldn't make it tonight, so I'll be.
Dude, I'm so excited, man! I'm excited to hang with you, brother. Listen, I love you. You're a treasure, man. You really are. You're a great sportsman. I love sports geeks like myself. It's why we connect. And by the way, unlike the Geek, you get my references.
Let me tell you something. I watch the show every week. I'm usually watching it on the TV. I watch it, I'm sitting on the couch. When you throw out something from like Midnight Run, which is probably the greatest movie. By the way, they're remaking that movie, which I need to ask you about. But
wait, I didn't know this.
Yes, they're remaking it, which I am worried about. I'm worried about.
Oh, they're gonna kill it. They're
gonna kill it. Without Dennis Farina, I don't even know how you do it. But regardless, when you throw one of those references out and the Geek just goes right over his head, I lose my mind. It's like the greatest movie of all time.
Sidney, go have a cream soda before I bury this phone in your skull.
Tonight, when we were kids, when we were like young adults and we would go out, like, the object was, try to pick up never happened.
Right.
But the object was you're gonna go like, pick up some
it was girls or get into a fight, one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other was gonna happen. More likely it was gonna be a fight.
Right.
But from that movie, it would always be, remember the other movie, Tonight's the fucking night.
Yeah,
that's what we would say. We go, especially you go on vacations, like tonight's the fucking night.
That's right.
He goes, I get the discs, you drop them. I get the disc, you drop the Duke. One of the greats, but they are remaking that movie.
You got the discs, or did you lose them like you lost your wife?
So I actually, excuse me, but we've been referencing that movie forever. And one of the great references ever was I did lose my job, like in the early 2000s. They were laying people off. I worked at ING, and I had sent it was like the early days of email, which is shocking. But so I sent an email out about I got the movie. I got the DVD of that movie, and I sent an email to my buddies. I'm like, hey, I got the DVD, Midnight Run, and my buddy had the greatest line ever. He goes, yeah, try not to lose them like you lost your fucking job. I go, that's the greatest line. I couldn't stop laughing. Still
that's the best. Hey, Charlie, I'll give you another one. Charlie, that's a beautiful shirt, Charlie, but you got no job to wear it to.
Is that from Pope of Greenwich Village?
My man, yeah. You got it.
Listen, I took an Italian. I went to Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, so I went to. PA.
You're an engineer. I know Lehigh. Are you kidding me?
They're the Mountain Hawks now. But I had an Italian American. I had a sociology class. The professor was phenomenal. My freshman year, sophomore year, I take an Italian American class, and on the syllabus is a book called Canarsie, which I grew up in Canarsie. So I'm like, I got to take this class. Anyway, we watched a bunch of Italian American movies. Pope of Greenwich Village was one of the movies. This guy would ask questions like, what was the song playing when they were playing
Summer Wind, Sinatra.
Yeah, that was one of the ones. One of the tests. You would have loved this class.
Moonstruck. Moonstruck. The best. What was the other one?
Marty, which is an old one.
I don't know Marty.
50s. That's a 1950s movie with Borgnine.
Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, of course, The Godfather and all that stuff. But yeah,
are you kidding? Well, I mean, the Pope was that was another one. Charlie.
My thumb's Charlie.
Yeah, he took my thumb, Charlie. White bread, Charlie. Come on. Canned soup.
Great movie. It has a lot of good ones. Yeah, the Geek wouldn't have known that one.
Nah, no shot. No shot.
We need him here so we could team up and laugh at him. He misses all the inside stuff.
I'll give you one more, and then we'll get to the games. I promise, guys. But 29th Street. You remember 29th Street with Danny Aiello?
No, I did not see. Okay, now you got me. I have not seen that one.
Okay, so do me a favor, and it's a Christmas movie. Okay. You gotta watch 29th Street. It's a great movie. All right, Danny.
By the next time.
It's right up your alley too, because It's the first New York State lottery winner. And Danny Aiello, it's classic. It's Brooklyn, the whole nine. It's fantastic.
I actually know when I was a kid, one of the girls I went to school with, a good friend of mine, her grandfather hit the New York lottery, $20 million. He left his wife. The guy's name was Rocco, believe it or not. I'm sure you believe it. He left his wife to go with his wife's sister. And they moved to Florida. They left Brooklyn.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Rocco, what are you doing, Rocco?
Yeah, I don't think Rocco's alive anymore, but that was the early '80s. Fantastic. He hit for $20 million. It was unbelievable. Anyway, let's jump into the games, brother.
Let's do it, man. I can talk to you all day.
I know. Listen, we could do a whole movie podcast.
Yeah,
but I got to, you don't know about me, but I'm actually a Cowboys fan. I'm one of those guys. I don't think they exist in Philly, but in New York, there's a ton of Cowboy fans my age.
I know.
Listen, would you be happier if I said I was a Giants fan?
Oh, yes. Yes.
They hate the Cowboys, man.
Oh my God. You don't understand. There's two teams that I root for every week. It's the Eagles and whoever's playing the Cowboys. Like, my Thanksgiving was made because the Cowboys lost. I celebrated. Raiders.
Nowadays, listen, I still root for them, but now it's about where my bets are, right?
Right.
But I was in 2 survivor pools, one for $500,000, a lot of money, but it was double picks, and I was alive last week. I'm in it with I don't know if his name is a former major league pitcher, is one of my partners in there. I don't want to mention his name, but we were in that one. We could not take Dallas. I was in another pool for like 40 grand. First place. It was only 23 people or some odd left, and I had specifically saved Dallas because this was a tough week. Week 12 was brutal.
Right.
Specifically saved Dallas for that, and then they go and blow it. That's just
dude, I'm sorry, Johnny. Oh my God.
You get that far, survivor pools you're not supposed to win them, especially when there's thousands of people in them.
Right.
But it was a good run. But I don't know what you thought about that last call. I hate making those calls at the end of the game. I know you're not rooting for the Cowboys, but that last call at the end of the game there.
I agree with you. Unfortunately, I swear to God, anymore, that's what this league. It's just a flag. Let me just run down and forget about it. Thank you, Daily Sports. That's right. That's us. We are 2 wise guys. But no, I'm with you, brother. I really am. It was a bad call. I just hate it. I hate deciding a game on a call like that, and I agree with you.
Well, now they come back. So we got Dallas comes back now. It's not a short week. They're playing a full regular rest week. And so are the Saints. So it's basically a full week off on a Thursday. I guess it makes sense that they gave these 2 teams the game, but the Saints look brutal.
The problem is, when you look at just the injuries, they just have ravaged that team. And look, I just don't know how they move the ball. It's just like Buffalo, right? Like, people were like, "Wow, it's a trap. It's a trap." Look, New Orleans is going to be able. A lot of sharp guys like New Orleans, and I just thought Buffalo. I just didn't think that they could be outscored by New Orleans. Like, I didn't think it would be that completely of a one-sided game. But it's the same thing in this game, right? Like, I realize that are they going to lose? Is New Orleans going to lose 2 home games, right, back to back like that? How do they score? And I'll tell you, the one guy on Dallas that I absolutely love is Micah Parsons. Like, when you got a guy who's a playmaker on that side of the ball, and look at New Orleans, how do they move the ball? I keep looking at it, and at some point, it is what it is. There's no trap. They're just not good offensively. They have a good defense, but ultimately, I don't think they can keep up with Dallas, even as banged up as Dallas is.
Yeah, but everyone said that about Dallas being banged up. They put 33 points on the board. The offense wasn't what hurt them last week. They couldn't stop. They couldn't stop Vegas. You're going to get Taysom Hill. That looks like Hill's starting. I think they kind of announced that today. So maybe you get a little bit of a different wrinkle. I didn't quite understand. I know.
They gave him a lot of money. Do you understand it? Because I don't. Like, you're about to say it. Yeah. Does he look like a guy that you want to invest in long term? He can't. He's not accurate. What's the difference between him and Tebow?
I would say slightly better Tebow.
Exactly. That's what he is.
You're not investing any in the future. If you didn't, my thing is he started last year. He started some games last year, and if you didn't have the confidence to play him over Simeon this year, I don't know where you're giving him any sort of a contract.
Right.
We'll see. I mean, it gives them a little bit of a different wrinkle. Maybe they're a little bit better offensively. They've struggled. They weren't that great with Winston. See, I thought the offense would be a lot better. I like Winston, at least from a fantasy standpoint. He puts numbers up. He just kills you from a football standpoint because he throws so many interceptions. But they really weren't, they weren't really churning out the offense with him either.
No, not at all. I mean, listen, you lose Michael Thomas, and that was such a big loss for them. Kamara for the whole season, if you look at it, I mean, I like Traquan Smith. He's decent. Deontay Harris, but there's no one you fear other than Kamara. There's no one you fear, and then with him being banged up, I look at it again. Can they keep up with Dallas? And from an X and O standpoint, a matchup standpoint, I just think it's a Cowboys game.
Yeah, that's definitely my lean. I've been on the fence as to whether I'm going to bet. I just don't think you can bet the Saints in this game. I bet Buffalo last week. I was with you. I took Buffalo. I know it doesn't always seem, the underdog always seems like the sharp play. Like you can just blindly bet the underdog. It's not always
right.
The case.
Right.
I just thought that was a game where Buffalo was clearly outclassing them. Short week. I just don't like seeing. And Buffalo's defense really, really good. So how were they ever going to score? And they really couldn't. Not quite the case here with Dallas's defense, but I still think if I had to lean one way, if I was in an office pool, I don't know if I'm going to bet it yet. I don't know about you if you're going to put any actual money on it. It's a Thursday game.
I'll be honest with you. It's 4.5. It's kind of that's a dog line. I mean, when you look at it, it's a dog number. I mean, the only play you can do would be buy Dallas down to 3, and take that. That would be my only play. Because it's not even a good teaser number either.
No, it's not. It's not a good teaser, and I usually don't do that, buying the points down to 3. So more than likely, it's going to be a game I pass on.
So interesting. Let's tackle that real quick because strategically, you're not you don't buy down the football numbers like 7.5 to 7, 4 to 3.
Don't. Yeah, I typically don't, only because they price them.
Right.
So they're priced more than correct. Like they overpriced them.
Yeah.
So there's a
you'll be laying 130 to go from 3.5 to 3. Usually you're laying 130.
Right, which is too much. It's slightly too much. Listen, if you have we're talking about pennies, but when you do this like I do it over a consistent amount of times, you really need to save every penny you can. Every half a point in football, even in basketball, which people don't realize, they're worth a different amount of. We call them cents, basically.
Yes.
So if it's 5 more, in what you're talking about, if I got to pay 20 cents to get that extra half point, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. This is what I do. I sit with spreadsheets and all that crap. I put all that education to good use in betting sports. So.
No, but listen, it's it's an investment. That's why people need to download the Sharp app because it's such a great tool. I honestly am a big believer in the football number, and that's just 3 and 7. When you look at 3 and 7, now you got 10 and 14, but 3 and 7, and I know it's a little bit different now with everybody going for 2. It changes things a little bit. But, if you look at it, and I know you do with the numbers, you'll see close to over a third of games are decided by 3 points. Like if you look at that number, more than any other number, it lands on 3.
Well, games end between 3 and 7, somewhere around 40% of the time, which is why when you were teasing, and the books have caught on to this, but you still want to teasing games from like 8 up to 14 doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Right.
But what you want to do is you want to tease that from -8 down to 2.
Yep.
Because you want to cross the big number. You want to cross the 7, cross the 3.
I'm with you.
Don't tease. Oh, for the love of God, don't tease a 3-point favorite to a 3-point dog.
No.
Don't waste your time. You're wasting the 1 and the 2, and certainly the 0. Those are wasted numbers. Don't do it. So if you want to tease, you tease 1.5, 2, and 2.5 up to cross the 3, cross the 7, and then vice versa. You tease down 8.5, 8, and 7.5. Get those underneath the 7 and the 3. That's really where you're going to make your money on the teasers.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I am.
All right, so let's jump into Sunday. We don't love this. We don't love the Thursday night game, but I guess we're leaning Dallas. I'm looking at now Minnesota and Detroit. So we're looking at like a 7-point favorite here from Minnesota. What do you think?
I mean, once again, how can you possibly back the lines? I mean, let's go back to it. On Thanksgiving Day is their day, right? Like that's the day, and you watched the game, you saw they came out. That was the game that you were going to win, right? If you're going to win a game, you're going to win a game on Thanksgiving. You're not going to win a game against Minnesota after they're coming off a loss. There's a playoff berth. You look at that offense. That offense is drecked. Again, how do you move the ball, right?
Swift's not going to play.
No. I to me, all day long, sometimes when you get to December, you just got to go with the obvious. The obvious works in December. It's funny because you'll know this. When the Patriots were the Patriots, and now they might be back to being the Patriots, but when they were rolling, there was always the sharp plays, always in December. If you were around this time, right? People are, well, the New England's due. It's too obvious. And the sharp plays, always betting against New England, always grabbing the dog. This game, you got to go Minnesota. They're too bad. They're dreck. The quarterback stinks. They can't move the ball. You got to go Minnesota.
I agree. That's actually going to be a game I'm betting. Again,
you get it now.
A lot of dogs.
Yeah, that's going to go up. By the way, you know that.
I think it's going to go up. Yeah, I think you want to grab this one early. That you could not have been more right when you're talking about on Thursday. And this was the thing we talked about survivor pools. Chicago was 3.5 point favorite. We're not, when you threw out the Dallas, if you couldn't take Dallas, you couldn't take the Patriots, you were looking at a bunch of 3-point favorites, Chicago being one of them. And a lot of people were shying away from that game for that reason. You're saying, listen, if Detroit's going to win a game,
right,
Thanksgiving against the Bears, the Bears look awful. We'll get to them. They're like, this is the game. They're going to come out playing as hard as they possibly can. And then they go, what they pulled at the end of the game, that timeout at the end of the game was just, they deserve to lose 17 games at this point. That cost me a lot of money actually in the single game on DraftKings, that timeout. Because I needed the ball to get back to Detroit. But anyway, it potentially cost me a lot. Let's put it that way. But I agree with you here. And I think Minnesota's kind of an underrated team. Minnesota's played a tough schedule.
Yes.
They've played a lot. Like Minnesota could be 3 games better than they are. They've lost in overtime. I believe they lost in overtime to Arizona. They lost that game week 1. They lost in overtime to Cincinnati. Like they've lost to some pretty good teams tight. We could be talking about this team in a totally different light. I think you're getting touchdowns a lot of points, but I think in a game like this against maybe the worst team in football, I don't think a touchdown is necessarily the as many points as we may think it is. But this is one of those where you could tease them down. If you're getting 7.5, this is the kind of game you tease down.
Yeah.
You're not losing this game. They almost lost, by the way, if you recall, to Detroit. They fumbled the ball late. If you remember early in the season, this was a game that Detroit almost stole, and they had that long field goal.
Yes.
In Minnesota.
Yeah, I do remember. Yep.
They had the game absolutely dominated the entire game, and then all of a sudden, running out the clock, they fumble and go down. I think that'll also be in their mind here. Like, listen, let's just put this team away early. Let's get the W and move on. I don't think they take them lightly, and I think they cover the 7 here quite easily.
Yeah. It's actually a game that I think you got to circle, and you got to get in early on that game because it's always going to go up.
Yeah, it's not coming down. If it comes down, I'd be very curious. There would have to be some major sharp money coming in on that one. So next game, we're right around a touchdown again. And we talked about the other Thanksgiving team. Here's their opponent, Chicago, against Arizona. It's 8, 7.5, depending on the book that you're looking at. 45.5, 45 on the total.
I got to stay away from this game. I got to tell you, I don't want nothing to do with this game. First of all, look, I'll lay 7 in Detroit against that team with a team like Minnesota. And obviously, Arizona's a better team. Obviously, we'll see about Murray. He's questionable for Sunday. It appears like he's going to play. But I don't want to back Arizona with a first game back from Murray on the road, in the cold, in Chicago. I don't want to do that. And I definitely don't want to back the Bears because the quarterback whoever's starting, is you're behind the 8 ball. So to me, it's a stay away. Like you're the vampire, and I'm putting the cross up. I don't want nothing to do with this game.
Well, I like to break my brother's a Bears fan, believe it or not. So none of us root for the New York teams, but
what's wrong with your family? You're Fugazis.
He roots for all the Chicago teams. Don't get me started. At least that's the only team. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Knicks fan, and I strayed. I went to the Cowboys. He roots for all the Chicago teams, the Cubs, Bulls.
What?
But, I know. But
hey, was that? Well, let me ask you a question. Was the pitcher you're in the fantasy league with a former Mets pitcher?
No, it was
all
not.
Right.
It was a Brave. It was he pitched for the Braves. Not one of the top guys on the Braves, but he did pitch for the Braves and a couple other teams. And he's still coaching in the league right now. So,
is he? Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah. So with the Bears, I was half joking, but I think they might be the worst unit. The offensive side of their ball might be the worst unit in football. I think maybe even worse because they have nothing offensively. I think it's worse than Detroit. Maybe not with Detroit banged up like they are. It's the worst side of the ball, I think, of any team in football is their offense.
Well, but you know what, though? It shouldn't be.
No.
Because, listen, I like Mooney. I like Darnell Mooney. Now, Robinson's been hurt. But, like, you look at their Cole Kmet, like, you look at their receivers, they're not bad. I mean, Darnell Mooney's turned out to be a hell of a player. You got Montgomery. I mean, like, their skill guys aren't terrible. It shouldn't be that bad.
Well, then the coach shouldn't be there anymore.
Well, I think you're going to get
your wish.
Or your brother. Your brother's going to get his wish. Oh. He's going to be out.
Oh, he's been. Yeah. I told him, as a Cowboy, I said we'll be happy to ship Mike McCarthy to you, which he is not.
He's another horrid coach. Oh, he's gross.
Jason Garrett's available. I said, why don't you get Garrett?
Get the clapper.
No, but listen, Nagy. I'm telling you right. I don't wish to see Josh Allen get hurt. I guarantee you, Trubisky would play well in that Buffalo system. That's actually the guy my brother wants. Is the OC
right?
From
Brian Dable. Yeah, who's
that's
really good, sharp guy, real grounded guy. I know. So, Sean McDermott's a really good friend of mine, who's the head coach in Buffalo. Terrific family, the whole thing, and that Brian is a terrific guy. And a hell of an offensive mind, and he's a guy again that'll run the ball. He's also modern, and you can see what he did with Josh Allen. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that's why again, I don't want to see Josh Allen not be on the field, but I'm curious to see how Trubisky could play with that offense because I watched it. I did not understand, and I'm seeing the same thing with Fields when he's out there. I just don't understand how they're not utilizing what they do best. Trubisky wasn't a great reader. I don't think Josh Allen's like a great reader of the defenses either. But what they do is they put him in a position to do what he does best, which is roll out a little bit, play. My grandfather used to call it street ball, right? Which is just, you kind of run, you're improvising. Mahomes is obviously great at it. It's a Lamar Jackson type of game. When they try to put these guys in a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, hey, read the entire defense, know where you're going before the play go. Like, that's what those guys did, and they were great. They were coaches on the field. These other guys are just freakish athletes. Josh Allen, Fields is a great athlete. Trubisky was a really, really good athlete. He's a mobile quarterback. Had nothing upstairs.
Yeah, but Josh is an elite. He's an elite quarterback. Like, he's an elite athlete. He's got a great arm, great move. He studied. Listen, I know his background a lot. Like, he really developed into and worked hard. Like, they worked him hard into being an elite quarterback. Like, he's the real deal. He really is the real deal.
I don't doubt it at all, but I think you need the coaching for guys like that. He was not everyone was picking him to be the worst of that quarterback crew that has come out. And he's by far been right. He's been the best guy of that. I mean, the guy was picked number 1 isn't even in the league. So
right.
And your boy Darnold hasn't looked very good. So we'll get to those yet. But yeah,
I mean, poor Matt. I joke because Matt turned down $130 million from USC, and I go, dude, he's loyal. He's a loyal guy, loyal to Carolina. And
obviously, you know him well. I don't know. sometimes I like to listen to like NFL films and hear these guys on the side, and you do sort of get a feel for these guys. And he's a very likable guy. You kind of get that feel from him, like he's a guy who, he's good. The players like him, and you got that feeling that he's a loyal type of guy. So I get that. But I'll tell you this: you've been around sports a long time. You know a lot of these guys in basketball, especially, and football. Though I don't know how any of these top college guys ever leave to go to the NFL, other than ego. Because, when you're a Mike Krzyzewski or you're now Saban or, I get that maybe, listen, to win that NBA championship or to win a Super Bowl or whatever is, those guys think they can do it. But, man, when you got that job at Alabama and you don't even have to recruit, like, the top, all the blue chip guys are coming to you. You're not going to them. And your life is set. I mean, who's had it better than Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, right? Not saying he hasn't made it that way. But boy, when he was talking about going to the Lakers or Izzo going to Cleveland, like, you got to be out of your mind. Once you get that college, I would prefer to be in college myself. But I understand from his point of view, he's there now. He's committed to those guys at Carolina.
Well, especially in basketball, like, Jay Wright. I'm very close with Jay, and Jay's been offered several jobs, right? Up and down the NBA, he's been offered, and we've always talked about this, and it's hard for a guy like that who loves coaching, right, to go to the NBA where you just don't have the hammer. Unless you got like a great group, it's hard because, you got to do, all you need is one bad apple guy that doesn't care or whatever. It just undermines the whole thing. And let's face it, if you're a Jay Wright or you're a Coach K, you're an Izzo, you'd rather be, or if you'd rather be in college where, you're dealing with 18-year-olds and you're the heavy. Like, you're still got a modicum of respect when you're the coach at Kentucky and you're John Calipari.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, look at when Calipari went to the Nets. They said that was Derek Coleman, I believe Kenny Anderson, like that team. And you see the documentary.
Jason Williams, yeah.
He showed up and he was going to put on his, his college face and, like, yelling at guys for not diving for balls. And they looked at him like, listen, we're not diving for balls in game, 13 of the NBA season.
Well, the story about Jordan, right? You ever heard the story about Jordan?
No.
Their Nets are playing the Bulls, and Jason Williams was on the Nets team, And John's like, and Cal, and I love Cal. And Cal's, again, it's young Cal. And like you said, he's into the game. He's up off his chair. And then Jordan stops and he's looking at Cal, and Cal's gyrating. And he turns to Jason Williams, goes, dude, does he know this is the NBA? And that was a big deal. Like, that was and Cal, you could see, I mean, he'd much rather, you feel like you're coaching when you're coaching. In the NBA, man, it's hard. It really is. And unless you got this great veteran group and you're dealing with men, it could be a tough gig.
You're managing personalities at that point. And let's face it, you're not winning. I don't care how good a coach you are. You're not winning the NBA without one of the top 5 players in the league.
I agree.
So
I agree.
These guys do it for ego, but man, I'd stay in that cushy gig in college if I could.
Robert, I think you're right on, man.
But let's hop back in here. All right, we got another big spread. Last week, all the tight spreads. This week, we're back to what we've seen a majority of the season. We've had a lot of these large spreads. It seems like an inordinate amount this year. But Tampa's at Atlanta. It's over 10, up to 11 and a half in some spots. The total's at 50.5. Atlanta won last week. That was one of the few teams as a favorite. Now, they played Jacksonville. And here you go. I keep going back to Survivor because it's fresh in my head, and I do a podcast on Survivor pools. But a lot of people shied away from that one because Jacksonville had been playing a little bit better. Atlanta hasn't looked all that good. But they got Patterson back, and he seems to be – that's a wacky –
Cordell Patterson's amazing, man.
If
you're a DFS guy, he's a killer. He crushes you. I was talking to Geek about this the other day because on Sunday, I was looking at Cordell Patterson. I'm going, man, and I opted not to play him. And, of course, he goes off.
When he went off, he was not high owned last week in DFS. Yeah. A few of the running backs who were not high owned did well. And Patterson's been that guy. They've been a lot better with him in the lineup. Now it's an 11-point spread. Tampa was in a little bit of a lull there.
Yeah, you can't back Atlanta. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's 11. I can't back that team. Even look, we talk about Cordell Pass is one thing. I can't back. I can't back them. I think that team is just. It's just they're just gross. That team is Matt Ryan is cooked. You got no weapons on the outside. You got no receivers other than Pitts. I mean, look at them. I mean, I could never back Atlanta. I could never do it. I'm not interested in laying double digits on the road. You know, I would, but again, I remember the game in Philadelphia where Tampa they could have named the score, and they were up by whatever it was, close to 16 or 17, maybe even 20 at one point. And the Eagles come back in garbage time, and they wound up covering. It was the line was like 6.5, and Tampa won by 6.
They haven't been great on the road.
No,
they've been really, really good at home. They haven't been great. You know, they lost the game at Washington. I mean, but that's the one thing in the NFL.
It's because their defense, man. Their defense.
Yeah. The rush defense is elite. But if you see what they do, they're putting everybody up on the line of scrimmage. I mean, they are just daring you to throw the ball on them.
Yes.
They do not want you to run the ball on them. That's the way they've played. It is an elite rush. I mean, DFS players know you do not play running backs against Tampa, but you could throw on them. You could throw on him. And Matt Ryan, listen, he still has a little bit left in it. Not much. He's had a couple of good games this year. But I don't expect much in this game. I do like Tampa. If we recall last year, this was the time last year where they really started to get it going. The problem this year, though, is, last year was more about getting the cohesion. Tom's first year. Brown came later. Once Antonio Brown was clicking, that's when this team really was clicking. I think he's a key piece that they miss in this when he's part of this offense, more so than even Gronk. But Gronk's a big help as well. But I think when they have Antonio Brown, this becomes a different offense. It becomes a very unstoppable.
I mean, because think about it: Brown in the slot, Godwin, Evans, Gronk, Brate. I mean, they're and Fournette. I mean, it's just impossible to stop because where are you going to roll your coverage? When you got Evans, Godwin, right? Brown in the slot, and a tight end like Gronk. Imagine 11 personnel with Fournette. That's the best. Think about the 5 skill people that you would have there. That's the best you got. The best you got in the league.
Quarterback who's going to get you in the right play.
Exactly.
95% of the time and throw it to the right receiver.
So what do you do? And if you play back, they'll just run it. You're going to put 6, 7 guys in the box. He'll run it all day. He'll go to Fournette. He'll check down. He'll go to Fournette, and you can't stop him.
It's frustrating to watch when you're on the other side.
Yeah.
But he's going to get him in the right. He's going to get him in the right play defensively. I mean, I have no confidence Atlanta's going to be able to stop them at all. It's just a matter. Can they? I'm leaning on the 11. If Geek was here, he'd say, you know what? I know John's going to be on Atlanta. He likes to take the. I don't take a lot of huge favorites. I would take Tampa here this week, though.
I agree.
I don't like Atlanta at all. I don't give him much of a shot in this game. So on to next, we've got another big spread. Kansas City's home against Denver. Denver coming off a huge win last week. I mean, they keep themselves in the playoff picture. That West is crazy. The Raiders win. Denver wins last week. Chargers lose to Denver. I mean, everyone's still sort of in the mix there. This Denver team has shown, they've shown some life, and they've had some awful games. They go into Dallas and absolutely shut them out. We've seen problems with Kansas City all year, right? Even the win against Dallas. Now, Kansas City, they're coming off, right? They were on the bye last week, so they're coming off that Dallas win was the last game they played, right? That 19 to whatever it was. Everyone's kind of, I don't know what you feel on it. Everyone's sort of like, well, Kansas City's back. The offense is the problem here, which is crazy. Their offense didn't play that well against Dallas, a team that, you saw what Vegas did to them.
No, I mean, look, the defense, like I was telling Geek that and listen, from, even though you're not a Giants fan, but you follow the Giants, Spags, who's the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, you look at his defenses over the year, they always get better. They play their best in November and December and January. And you could see that unit get healthy and start coming together. And I think they're playing great football. It goes back to Mahomes. When you play off them and he doesn't run, they get frustrated. I mean, look, he gets frustrated. He's still great. I just think they're waiting for the counterpunch. I wouldn't be surprised if Andy gets it fixed for this week. I wouldn't be surprised if a bye week fixes it. The only problem is that's a hell of a lot of points, and Denver will shorten the game. They got two great running backs. Javonte Williams, I love him. I love the way he runs. So I'm not really anxious to lay, double digits with Kansas City.
Yeah, this game is
even though I hate the quarter Teddy Bridgewater. I hate.
No, I don't like the quarterback either. I don't like the game at all. I don't like the 7. I agree with you. If this defense is going to start improving, then it becomes scary, because there's no team, certainly not in the AFC.
No.
Someone was talking about, I was listening on NBC, whatever it was, a few weeks ago when Tennessee was kind of rolling through the best teams. And they're like, well, maybe Tennessee's the best team, which I never really thought they were.
No.
Buffalo's probably the best team, but they've certainly been shaky. I mean, you can't name any of these teams can win really in both leagues. It's
wide open. It is. It's wide open.
Which is why, by the way, from a betting standpoint, I think you could find some value here on, the 7th, 8th, 9th choice. I think anyone could really win the Super Bowl. So you're going to find value. I don't think there's a team that's unbeatable. Yeah, if Tampa could start to put it together, if Kansas City can put it together, but we haven't seen it yet. So I think there's some value still right now in taking some future bets here on the Super Bowl, because I think it is kind of wide open. But when you talk about this game, yeah, this is a no bet game for me. Like I said, Denver has been just, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, they looked really impressive last week. They totally should. The Chargers were not in that game. Actually, no, I didn't take that in this. I had to pick double picks, and that was one of my options, but I didn't take it. I was kind of glad to see the Chargers lose. I'm like, I had no chance to win this thing. Every team I was going to possibly take lost. But I did bet the Chargers last week, and that just didn't work out well at all. Yeah, I don't know. You could see this game going either way. What you said, though, was right. What teams have done now is drop back. They play the coverage again. So they're taking away the deep ball, and you were lacking early in the year where they would what they used to do, which is kind of take the middle of the field with Kelsey, and not try to always hit the home run. He kept trying to throw the home run ball when it was double covered, and it was frustrating. And they really don't want Mahomes to run all that much. This is what happens with guys who are really.
He's got a turf toe.
They don't want him running.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to watch this offense, and I think that was the issue that they had. But I think you're right. Coming off the bye, I think that's the key here. I think Andy Reid gets it right coming off the bye. If I had to lean one way, I'm taking Kansas City, but I'm not ready to bet this game at all. Let's go. Let's dive on to the next game. Again, I mean, we're hitting all the big lines here. Indianapolis, 9-point favorite. Here's a team that's really starting to come on from early in the year. Is Indianapolis against Houston? They're 9 points over Houston. Houston, I mean, you lose at home to the Jets. Doesn't get much worse than that.
Jets, Jets.
Boy, that's rough. Now, when you looked at the, they beat Tennessee. Again, that was a big survivor pool game 2 weeks ago. When you looked deeper into the numbers, though, Tennessee out yardaged them by like 3-1.
Yeah,
the turnovers came at the most inopportune time, and they did something with the turnovers. But they really didn't move the ball all that well. Now, Houston's had their moments on defense. Now, you get Taylor back again. Last week, he was coming back. They did look better with him earlier in the season, but I don't know. I mean, I am leaning. This is one of the games where my numbers are telling me to take Houston.
Yep.
And I think because Indianapolis has not been the type of team that's going to blow you out. I think
this is it. This is it. I like the Texans, especially
okay,
coming off the game last week. Look at that game they came off of last week. Now, this is a spot play to me for Houston all day long.
This is why you're a sharp guy. This is why, we see with the Geek here, you're usually against the Geek. You're making these Butler bets. So far, I'm pretty much in agreement with, which makes for a boring show.
No, but listen, well. We want to give advice, right? Which is like, here's my advice. Go download the Sharp app, right? Because it's a great tool. You need to have that tool. And listen to us, okay? The spot is key. The ebb and flow of this league, we've hit a lot of those pizza bets that we talk about where I bet the alternate line, right? Where Carolina was a big dog 2 weeks ago, if you remember, and I love them, and they destroyed Arizona. Like, there's spots like that, and this is a spot where I like Houston. I think Houston's going to win the game.
Take a shot on the money line here.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
I
what
like
you
that.
do is you bet your unit on with the line, all right? And then you use, you know, a tenth of what your unit is, and you take the money line.
Can I tell you how I do it with those? So I play it to win. I always play to win amount. You know, we talk about units. So
Right.
I'll play to win a unit. So in that sense, if you're playing a 5-1 underdog, right, I'm trying to win one unit. So if my unit size is $100, I might play $20 to win.
Right.
That's how I play it.
Smart.
And then you're going to want to cut down on that because you don't want as much risk. If I'm going to play them on the line, then maybe I'll lower that bet a little bit because I'm going to add them in for a money line bet as well. So then I'll figure out how do I win a unit. But you know, if you want to take them now, you're going to take an alternate line on this one as well. You're going to take them to win by like a touchdown.
Yeah. So what I usually like to do is, you know, in this case, I would take Houston -2, right? Like I would lay the, because they're going to win, right? So you can bump up, you know, what you're going to get. If they're going to win by field goal or more, right? So I usually lay 2, and then I like to play an even smaller pizza bet on winning margin. And this is where you can actually you can make a score, right?
Sure.
So, you know, winning margin where you can bet from 7 to 13 and 14 to 21, like that. Usually like, or 13 to 24. Like if you look at those numbers, either 7 to even 7 to 24, where you can bet three columns, or you bet 2 columns, depending. In the case of Houston, I would take the 7 to 20. So it would be winning margin 6 to 11, and then I got to look at it. But
I'm looking it up while you're talking here. So so you'd want to take Houston to win 13 to 18, basically.
Right, and then
12.
Right. So now I have
1200.
7 to 18 covered.
Yeah, so you got plus 1,200 at 7 to 12, and then plus 2,200 at 13 to 18.
Exactly, because they're not going to win by more than 18, I don't think.
Right.
And so if I cover that 7 to 18 spread, that's a score, right? So I'll bet them plus the number. I'll bet them smaller -2, and then I'll bet them real small on those 2 columns. Right now, imagine if it falls in between those 2 columns, you win you win your bet, your big bet, which is your plus bet. Then you win your -2 bet, and you're cash in on one of the columns.
Hey, playing a couple of lottery tickets, and I don't have to imagine, you've done it now quite a few times. You hit that Carolina game. You hit the Carolina game way back.
There's a few of them that we hit.
Yeah.
What Detroit was? Detroit was a big dope. Not Detroit. Oh, we had Detroit. They lost, but they covered a big number. There was a couple weeks ago. We hit a couple of them. I had another double-digit underdog that won outright, which I loved. You can find them, especially in this league that's got such parity, and that's why I think Houston's live. I always like doing that. I like to try to suss out, instead of betting the card, right? You suss out 3-4 games that you really like, and then you get creative with them.
I'll tell you one thing about that quarterback, and you know him well for the Colts, is he loves to make stupid plays. Boy, has he made, and he could turn a game that they're supposed to win into a loss easily.
Yep.
I mean,
and you never trust him as the front runner, right? So as the favorite, you never trust him.
Yeah, you want that underdog where he's got to take the risk. I don't want him having to play conservative. That's not his style. And let's go out there and win me a game. I like him as a 10-point dog where sling it around the field, take a couple of chances.
Right. Exactly. Stats. Yeah. That's exactly what that's why I think this is a circle game. I love it. I love this game, and I can say it. I think, listen, I really love them to cover, and I think they have an outside chance to win. So that's kind of my, and I love the game. It's one of my favorites on the card. It sounds ridiculous, but it is.
It's to me it's not, because I'm surprised. I'm used to talking to the Geek, and then I go, I like Houston, and he goes, how can you possibly like Houston?
And that's the secret of the Butler bet, because and think about it, right? When you got most guys think like the Geek, right? They go, "Oh, what do you mean? The Colts? Look at the Houston stinks." But if you look at Spot, man, Spot is everything. Last week I loved the Giants, and I'm an Eagles guy, right? But I go, now I didn't play it because there's something it's the Eagles, so I can't do it. But I looked at that game and I went, they're going to lose the game. You can see it now. When Kadarius Toney was ruled out, I think, what's up, John? I think that was a huge loss for them offensively. And so I didn't love it as much, but like you could see spots, and that was the Eagles had been riding high. The Giants, it just made perfect sense. You got to read the spot. Spot is everything in this league.
When you've been doing it for as long as, unfortunately, how old we are, and we've been betting for as long as we have, you start to get a feel for where are the suckers going to go on this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to my sister's not watching this, so I'll throw her under the bus. We used to do a 6 out of 6 pool where you had to pick 6 games right. And of course, Sunday dinners where, you're always at, mom, dad, whatever, grandma, grandpa. So I'd always be over at my dad's for Sunday for dinner, watching the games. My sister would come by, and I didn't have to look at who she bet. I would just know, like, she bet Peyton Manning. She bet, like, I knew, because she knew just enough about football to make sure she took every sucker game. So I would know ahead of time, and it would piss her off that I'm like, oh, who'd you bet? You bet, did you bet this team, this team, and this team? She's like, yeah. I go, yeah, well, because every sucker bet them, and then she get all fired up and mad. But you get good at finding where the suckers are going to be.
Yes, yeah.
When you get used, and look, if they won all the time, we'd make a fortune. But as it stands, we make enough. We hit them enough times where they're worth it. But you talked about your boys. We're going to go to that one next. Here they get the Giants last week. It's New York, baby. 6.5. They're just. I
gotta lay it. Hurts' ankle. He said he's going to play. Hurts his ankle's bummed, but I would lay it. I'm not really interested in laying. The Eagles should never lay 6.5 on the road.
No,
but if I had to bet it, I would bet the Eagles. Unfortunately, to me, it's a stay away because I just can't lay 6.5 with Jalen Hurts, and they should roll. And if I had to play it, I'd play the Eagles. But, that's a lot of points on the road for a team that I still don't trust.
I'm taking the Jets, not as a bet, though. I'm just taking it as a lean. I had it down. It's on my almost bet. The Jets are an almost bet here. Coming off the win scares me a little bit with the Jets.
Yeah, it does.
So that's the angle we don't necessarily love. And then Philly coming off a tough loss, you kind of expect a bounce back here, against the Jets. Games on the road, same building they played in a week ago, only 90 minutes up the road. So, they should be fine as far as, I'm not too worried about them laying points on the road. The road, I think Geeks mentioned this to you, but the home advantage is no longer what it was in most sports, and especially in football now. It's only, I think it's about a point. I anticipated about 1.25 this year. I put in about 1.5 into my numbers because I think Vegas is still right around 1.5, or the books. I keep calling them Vegas, but now it's all over the place, right? Which is why if you're in the Sharp app, as we always say, find out your state inside the app, and you'll see all the sports books that are legal in your state and what the lines are in those sports. But the books it's about 1.5. And do you know why, by the way? Do you know why the home field advantage has gone down in all sports, especially basketball? But do you know why it's gone down so much? So the reason home field advantage is what it is. Everyone talks about it being being about like the fans or travel and sleep in a hotel. It's the referees, and the referees, how they're influenced by the fans.
Crowd.
They've proven this. And the closer they are to the game, the actual more of a home court or field advantage. So that's why NBA, and that's universal worldwide, basketball is one of the biggest home court advantages because the refs are so close to the fans. With the advent of all the instant replays, it's actually decreasing home field advantage. That old 3-point, 2.5-point advantage at home is no longer existent. So if you
that
think
makes
3
sense,
points, it's not. It's a 1.5 to 1.25 because the crucial plays in games, and you're seeing it in the NBA. It used to be a 58% home field advantage or home court advantage in the NBA. That's dropped down dramatically. NFL now is 51, 52%, somewhere around there, maybe. And I believe last year there was no home field advantage at all because there was no fans in most of these places. So, but anyway, just that's a little tidbit there for you. And
that's interesting.
More you see,
you know what? I never thought about that.
Well, the more you start seeing them put, like at baseball, there's hardly any home field advantage anyway. But if you start putting in, they're going to put the the strike zone where it's not going to be an umpire. You're going to remove all home field advantage. That's it. It's gone. Because they did these studies, like the Knicks playing the Nets shouldn't have any effect, but there is. It's just same home field or home court advantage as it is if the Knicks go out to LA and they're sleeping in their same bed. So you're throwing all those things out. So just a little tidbit there to throw at you. But yeah, I mean, my lean on that game would be the Jets, but I don't love it as a bet.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think you're backing a bad team. I mean, you look at them and I look at the Eagles and I don't trust them. I don't trust the quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of tape on them now. The Giants shut them down, man. Look, they ran for 200 yards. That's great. But if you can't throw it, that's a problem. That's an issue.
That play at the end of the half is
horrible.
Again, they were in my Survivor. I mean, when he threw that ball at the end of the half, just throw the ball away at that point. Obviously, get your 3 points. That I didn't want to watch any more of that game. So yeah, that was a tough loss. Giants are an awful team. So, I could definitely see them bouncing back in this game, but I'm going to take the points here. I agree. I think it's a little too many points. But let's jump. I know we started late tonight. I don't want to keep you past your bedtime. It's a school night.
I just did a kiss to my wife. That wasn't to you, Johnny.
Oh no, Listen, I assumed it was to the wife, but I was hoping it was for me. But I just assumed it wasn't. But a guy can hope, man. Listen, we got a game that's actually a good one here. Cincinnati and the Chargers. Should be a good game. 3-point. It's the classic 3-point game.
Now, I don't know. I'm curious how you read it because I think there's one way to go. I actually love the game. And
all right, I'm going to tell you who you like, and I'm going to tell you who I'm taking. You like the Chargers,
correct?
And I like the Chargers in this game. So go ahead, because I got a feel for you now.
Yes,
I know who you're going to bet, and I know who the Geek's going to bet. And the Geek would be all over Cincinnati right now.
Yes. The Bengals with a statement win against Pittsburgh. Right, that's a franchise type of win. Where you beat your division for years, you're the doormat, a rival against the Steelers, and you just dismantle them. That's got letdown written all day long. And here's the other thing. I look at Cincinnati. First of all, I don't trust. First of all, Pittsburgh, Ben's cooked, right? All they got's Najee, right? Because their passing game's cooked because of Ben. So they're not that good. That's not a great win, even though it was impressive. It's still not a great win. The Chargers, meanwhile, match up. They'll be able to move the ball against Cincinnati. I love the Chargers in this game. I think they win the game. I would take money line. I would lay alternate lines. I love the Chargers. I would take their Chargers team total. I mean, because I think they're going to score on Cincinnati. So I love the Chargers team total over the points. I love the Chargers every which way in this game.
I couldn't agree more. And for DFS purposes, you DFS guys out there, I like the Chargers stacks in this game as well. I think they're going to put points up in this game. All the reasons you said, and you're getting it on both sides here. The Chargers lost that divisional game that was important last week. Flip side, Cincinnati, probably the biggest win so far this season. Regardless, to them, it's Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh may not be the best team in that division. Those teams are all fairly tight. They don't beat Pittsburgh all that often. They're trying to move up now and become what Pittsburgh has been for the last 15, 20 years. Cincinnati's been the doormat down there with Cleveland. in obviously in recent years. So that was a big win for them, and they demolished Pittsburgh. That game just got out of hand, and they rolled them. So yeah, I think this is a big letdown spot. I think the number's right. Like according to my numbers, this is a 3-point line. I think it should be, but I think I think it goes back to what you were saying. You kind of get a feel for these things of where's this team going and where's that team going, the games that they're coming off of. So I really like the Chargers in this spot. And I have a thing about teams. A lot of people like to shy away from teams going back to back on the road. I like teams that go back to back on the road. I think sometimes they get a little bit more value because of the fact that the average bettor says, "Oh man, back to back games."
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes I get an extra point or two of value in there, but I do think the line is right. I agree with you here. I think I like the Chargers in every way possible. And if you're going to alternate line bet it, absolutely jump on some alternate lines on this one as well.
Let me ask you a question. You brought up the DFS. So when you bring up stacks, right? Would your stack be Herbert and either Mike Williams or Keenan Allen and Eckler, or would you never play the quarterback and the running back? How would you stack it?
It hasn't worked great. It hasn't worked great this year, but in the last 2 years before this year, playing the quarterback with 2 pass catchers, and I consider Eckler basically a pass catcher.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So you can certainly play, if you like that side, you can play Eckler with a Williams or Eckler with an Allen with Herbert, and then come back maybe with someone on the other side of the ball.
Chase, right.
Chase or something like that. I haven't looked at the prices on these guys yet, how you can fit them in. But yes, absolutely, you can play Eckler, or you could just play Eckler with Herbert. I think it works as well, because he could dump off to him 7 times and he could score a couple of touchdowns, and you can see Herbert throw for 300. So yeah, absolutely in DFS you could do that. All right, let's jump on here. We've got another thriller. We're going. I mean, whenever the New York, I don't know how. I'm glad I don't live in New York and have to only watch the New York games. But New York against Miami is
I can't. I got nothing. I got
nothing.
I got nothing for you, brother. I look at that. First of all, we know how the Giants are flawed, right? Like that. I mean, Saquon's done. I mean, look at that team. Dimes, right? Like they're gross. And Miami, I mean, other than Waddle, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look at that team. They stink. I want nothing to do with that game. To me, I got no interest. There's better plays. Why force it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the second trip down to Florida. There's a lot of New York fans. At least they're getting some good trips. They could head down. They were in Tampa Monday night. They get down to Miami. There'll be a ton of New York fans down there in Miami for the game. But yeah, 4 points. I mean, if I'm going to pick them pool, I'm just going to take the 4 points here with the Giants. Don't love it enough to bet the game. Miami, I agree with you. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I
can't believe they're 4. I mean, honestly, it's a Dolphins line. Like
it is.
Like they're Vegas, or we talk about it, right? They're smart. They know that if they make the Giants, if they're making Miami a 4-point favorite, they're going to get all Giants money. First of all New York's going to bet the Giants, right? Casual bettor goes, wow, the Giants just beat the Eagles. Now they're catching 4 against the Dolphins. They stink. So to me, this is a Dolphins play all day long. Now I wouldn't play it, but if you're going to read the line, I read it as Miami.
The look-ahead line on this was 2.5. This was going to be Miami 2.5, and now it's 4. Like it went higher after the games this weekend, because I don't know why, quite honestly. I guess, usually the Giants, if the team's coming off a win, not that they were impressive in that win, usually, the line. So that does scare me a little bit. It's kind of, if you're sharp, it is kind of, they're begging you to bet the Giants, which means you kind of want to sneak in on Miami. It's not going to be a bet for me. I think, again, in a pick and pool, I'm gonna probably take the Giants, or maybe you play some game theory and go against it if you're in a pick 'em type of pool. But I like the way you're thinking here, because it's almost like they're sucking you in, like 4. They're like,
exactly.
They didn't make it 3. They made it 4. Like,
right.
We'll give you that extra point. Go ahead, jump on it, give it a shot.
Because even if it moves, it's not going to move a full point. It'll move to 3.5.
Won't go to 3.
Right, and that to me, when it's over a football number like that, I would lay Dolphins.
It's 4.5 up at FanDuel's got it at 4.5.
Yeah, I mean that's
4.5, but yeah,
that's a Dolphins line all day long.
Well, if Dimes is out, that could be why the game's so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with Dimes, but who? I mean, who? I mean, even without Dimes, I don't even know. That's it's an awful game. Listen, you're not gonna. It probably won't even pop up on the Red Zone channel, but maybe 2
Right.
times. So, brutal game. I'm passing on it. You're passing. Let's go to again. I mean, it's an important game, at least for Vegas. We got Vegas and Washington. Not a game I'm thrilled to watch, but 2 point. Now this seems like the opposite to me. Like this game, the 2 seems light. Vegas is 2.5 point favorites over Washington. Like, I don't know. Like Vegas coming off that win.
Dude, this is Washington. Yeah, no. You're right on. Like, to me, this is a Washington play all day long. It's Washington, right? And I'll tell you, Washington. You watched the game Monday night. I like that team, both offensive line and defensive line, right? I look at. I'm looking at the Raiders, and everybody and their mother watched that game on Thanksgiving. People see that, they're going to go, it's light. I agree with you. I also like the way the Washington defense is playing. I thought that they would suffer without Chase Young. That front's playing well. They're playing some of their best football. I like the defense. I wish McKissick, I don't know what his status is, but we saw him get hurt. But I like that team. I think the Raiders defense isn't good. I would be all over Scary Terry in this game for your DFS, by the way. I think McLaurin has a monster, especially since he was pretty quiet Monday night.
You know, we get these it's not necessarily first impression, but we get first impression of the season. And Washington, now we went into the season, Washington, look how good they looked last year, right? Washington's defense, they shut everyone down. They looked dominant coming in, and then they came out just flat. But so what happens is I think we get into that mindset like, well, Washington's defense is not as good as they were. But if you look at the last few games, right? So they play Green Bay, they give up 24, and that's basically league average. The league average is 23.5 points, something like that a game. Denver, not a great offense. They give up 17. But then they hold the Bucs to 19. Carolina, 21 points. Seattle last week, 15. Like, it's hard to gauge, but they are playing better. But have they played great offenses too? You know, it's hard to gauge. Is this Vegas offense great? It's above average offense. It's an above average offense, maybe. So you could see them holding them to 17 points, and now they just got to put some points up on the board themselves here and win this game. I could see you playing this on an alternative line as well.
Yep.
The only problem I have with playing this as like for them to win this by more than 2 touchdowns is I just don't know if they score enough in the game to win this game by, like, to me, they win this game, it's going to be low. It's 20-17 if they win this game, I think.
I don't know. I don't like the Raiders defense. I don't like the Raiders defense.
So you think they'll be able to put some points up here?
I do. I do. I think, I think this is a fun bet that you can have some fun with using those 2 columns. Like I tell you, I would do the same thing with Washington. Like
the total's 49. What do you think on the total?
I like the Washington defense, but I just like Washington in this game all day long. I wouldn't mess with the total. I like Washington all day long. Like, to me, it leaps. Again, this is another one of these games like the Texans that leaps out to me.
It sounds like they're begging you to bet Vegas.
And I like what I do. I'm telling you, they're good. Washington may make the playoffs. They're alive. They're not. That's a decent. I'm telling you, I like them. I like their weapons. You get Curtis Samuel back, right? Like, he had his first game back Monday night, so he's a weapon. You know about Scary Terry. You love Gibson, right? You like Logan Thomas is back.
Yep.
I love Washington in this game. They're a better team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They are. You're right. Vegas. We're talking about them in the play, but Washington is still right there as well. So they get on a run here. Remember,
I'm telling you, lay it alternate line.
Yeah, I could see it. It just looks like they're trying to suck you in on Vegas, so I always like.
And I just think legitimately Washington is better on both sides of the ball, other than quarterback.
Yeah, you got to give the edge to.
That's right, Alex. I just said it. Logan Thomas back.
Yeah, you got to give
right.
the edge at quarterback. But I don't love the weapons on the.
No.
You got Waller, but he has not been good. That's the odd thing.
Now the only thing that made the Raiders' offense work was Deshaun Jackson, but I think the Washington secondary is better. All right, so I could see it. You asked for the total. I could see an over. Like I could see Deshaun Jackson, another big play and all. But I think Washington scores. I take Washington team total over too.
You take the Washington team total
over. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, I have no confidence in Vegas's defense. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's jump back to the AFC, the North. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, 4.5 points. Baltimore on the road. Man, this is you just talked about Ben. I mean, Ben's done. Yeah. But this Baltimore team it's a frustrating team. I mean, that might have been the most frustrating game I ever watched was that Monday night game against Miami, because it just looked like, Miami did the same thing on every play, and Baltimore couldn't figure it out, which is basically, we're going to blitz everybody, and you're not going to be able to complete any passes, and you're not going to run the ball. I mean, and they just kept doing it. And then he was checking. I like to watch I don't know if you watched the Manning cast at all. It wasn't a Manning cast that night, but Manning cast earlier in the year. And they made a comment that basically said what I was telling you about my grandfather, which is like play street ball. He's another one of those quarterbacks, Josh Allen.
Right.
Let him play street ball, let him run. I think what happens with these guys who have this athletic ability and they're gifted with their legs is they get in a situation like Mahomes, where if they have any little nagging injury, they're not the same quarterback anymore. This is what I don't like about Murray. This is why I'm scared about betting in Arizona. Like normally, if Murray was in here for the last few weeks and I saw them churning, I like Arizona in that game. I don't like playing these quarterbacks who rely on their legs to when they're hurt. Now,
especially first game back. No, I agree.
Yeah, but I think Harbaugh basically has told Lamar Jackson he's keeping Lamar Jackson like in a cocoon. Like he doesn't want him to. I think they've told him, listen, run as a last resort as opposed to make it a part of your offense. So it's frustrating to watch because there are days where he does not look stoppable. He looks like you cannot stop him at all. And then they come out and they've got these weeks where they're struggling to put points on the board. And I think I just think it's a product of them holding him back a little bit. And I think maybe as they feel the games are more important, you see it sometimes in the second half, they kind of let them loose like, hey, we got to win this game. So they're frustrating. They're a hard team for me to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's Baltimore, no bet.
Yeah, which
I'm not betting. I'm not backing Pittsburgh. Yeah,
I'm not taking the game. But yeah, it's tough to bet Pittsburgh. It's tough. They've got weapons, but I think when the quarterback is he's a dummy. Basically, here's a guy who used to be able to pressure him, and he can get at, like, you could put two guys on top of him, and he could break those tackles and make a play. He can't do that anymore. So he's just not the quarterback anymore. He's not the guy he used to be.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's get on to here's a thriller. Jacksonville's at the Rams. And this is the biggest line of the week. Close to 2 touchdowns, 13.5 points. I know the Geek, like, again, he likes to say sharp side, John's probably going to take Jacksonville. I don't have an opinion on this one. That's your boy in Jacksonville. You love Coach Meyer. Is he thinking about going to college? He says no. Is he thinking about it?
Listen. I mean, I can't bet that game. If I would take the Rams. It's just too many points for a team that hasn't played well, right? Like you've seen them. There's something missing. Now they've been playing good teams, but still. You lose to Tennessee at home. You do that game against Green Bay.
49ers got blown out. Couldn't
right, and then you lose that game in Green Bay where you really weren't in it. I mean, the Green Bay controlled that game. I like, to me. Listen, if I want to bet, I want to bet the Rams, but I just stay away from it. It's too many points.
It's a stay away. I don't like the points, but you could see that's the type of game I think a guy like Stafford. Go ahead and you can put. I don't love Stafford. I think he's going to struggle against the better teams. I think this is a game where he can kind of, they've got the weapons where they could just they could blow them out, and they need a big game. They can't play this tight. If this is a tight game, if this goes down to the last possession, it's troubling. They could kind of feel good about themselves if they go out there, they win this game by 3+ touchdowns, feel good about themselves a little bit. I'm not sure who they have coming up on the schedule. It looks like then they've got Arizona. So that scares me.
Yeah, it's a look ahead. Yeah,
a little look ahead, but they really need to come out and play well. If they play this game tight, that's going to be scary for that Arizona. That's going to be a good game against Arizona for first place. I have a futures bet on Arizona to win the West, so I'll be eyes glued to.
Wow, that's a good bet, man.
Plus 600. Yeah, we did it on the air
Nice.
with the Geek. I took Philly also. That's not looking very good, but that was plus 1,000. I thought it was worth it.
It was good. Listen,
yeah.
What's funny? If they beat the Giants, they're a game behind Dallas. You're live.
Oh, I know. That game pretty much killed them. Now they can't do it.
Yeah.
Now they can't do it. But it was like plus 1,000. I thought it was worth a shot. I try to take quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right? I try to predict like what young quarterback's going to possibly take that step forward. I thought Hurts could potentially be that guy. And quite frankly, the division's pretty bad other than Dallas. So I gave it a shot. Now, the flip side was Arizona's in a really good division, but I thought they were a pretty good team too. So I thought either really weak division or really good division, you could take a shot on the long shot. So we'll see. Hopefully that Arizona one comes in at plus 600. But here's a game again. Now, Seattle coming off a brutal Monday night. That game looked like they were going to roll. Now they're at home where they used to be dominant. Russell Wilson never loses at home. Russell Wilson used to never lose primetime games. He's going to have a losing season for the first time ever. He's never had a losing season. It's going to happen here this season. San Fran, 3.5 point favorite on the road. Is this a playoff team? San Fran. First of all, who do you like in the game? And then is San Francisco? Is this a playoff team? Is this a team we should be worried about? I've got them ranked up in I think I have them like 10th now. And this
I like Seattle in this game. I think San Fran coming off the win against Minnesota. I think Seattle, with all its struggles, I think they can put it together for one game. DK Metcalf looked frustrated on Monday night, and I could see concerted effort where Russ back home. I don't think they're going to right the ship, but I think this is a game where they put it together for one night, and it's at home. It's on Sunday Night Football, and I think they put it together and win the game.
I am in agreement with you. This is, it's crazy. We agree again. I think Seattle wins this game outright. They're getting the 3. I'll take it. I don't love the bet.
This is like a Super Bowl game for them. Like, this is their game, right? Division rival. They've been struggling. I think this is the game where you get all your frustrations out. It's at home, and then they go and they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to rally together for one game, and it's going to be on national TV, and it's got it written all over it.
Let me ask you about the coach Shanahan for San Francisco. I really think he's good. I think
he's a great coach. Yeah.
I think he's one of the best. Like what he's done with his wide receivers, like he loves to run the ball, which I love.
Debo, yeah.
Now getting he doesn't have a great quarterback. He's got a good quarterback who can
right.
He plays well. He's not
game manager.
He went to the Super Bowl when they had a great defense and everything else, and they ran the ball really well. But I love what he's doing running the ball with Debo, and even he's getting some of the other wide receivers involved in the run game. It's hard to stop. If you watch their games, they're really hard to stop.
No, that's a good team. Listen, that's a playoff team. That's a team that with an extra wild card. If you give the Rams one, I think San Fran, they're going to be a playoff team, probably Minnesota. But I look at that team, and they got some good weapons, right? Like Ayuk, I love. Kittle's back. I mean, that's a good team. I'm with you. But in this game,
I agree.
That said, I like Seattle to win it. Outright.
I totally agree with you. But I don't agree with you enough to put my money on it, so I can't say I totally agree with you. That's going to be that almost made my plays. So, but I do lean towards the Seattle way. I could see it. Let's go to the night game, Sunday night. Here's a big one. This is probably the game of the week, I think. New England, Buffalo. New England or Buffalo's just 3 is juiced on the New England side, or you could get 2.5 where the juice is on the Buffalo side. This is a really interesting game. I mean, who would have thought a few weeks ago New England was going to be the first place team here in the East? certainly a win goes a long way. And now maybe Belichick really is a good coach, and he didn't just need Tom Brady.
He's a great coach, right? He's a great coach. We know that. But I'm telling you, I like Buffalo. I do. I'm going to go back to Buffalo. It's going to be snow. It's going to be bad weather, and which New England plays well in. But I just think Buffalo's better.
I'm hammering Buffalo in this game.
Okay, good. We agree. Buffalo. Yeah,
I think they are just a better team. I like the way this kid's playing, but the better quarterback is on the Buffalo side of the field.
The more offense, come on, we look at the Buffalo offense. Give me Buffalo's offense all day long. They can't move the ball through the air against that team. I think so.
How's the Buffalo defense been?
How
are they going to score? I think it's the best defensive unit in football right now. And with all due respect, I think New England's very good. But I don't think I think they're going to struggle to put points up on the board against Buffalo. I'm hammering Buffalo in this game. One of my favorite games this week is going to be that Buffalo Monday, and they're going to be rowdy.
Yeah, I agree, Stats.
They're going to be rowdy in that play. That's a huge game.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, it's good for football to see Belichick and this kid maybe make a run at it. It would be, boy, what a story that would be if they actually got to the Super Bowl against Tom. I mean, Jesus.
That'd be awesome.
I haven't even thought about it until now. It would be unbelievable. But I do think Buffalo sets them straight here and says, listen, we're not ready to give up the division just yet. We just got here. We got our window. And I think they put them in their place this game. So I like Buffalo quite a bit this week. So that's going to be a fun one, though. And then, and then is that it?
That's the Monday night game. Yeah.
The Monday night game. Is there no Sunday night game this week?
Kansas City.
They have to flex. Do we know who that game is going to be? Did they flex it?
Not yet. I mean, going into it was Kansas City, Denver, but I don't know if which one they flexed.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what the night game was. Yeah, I thought that was the so that's going to be the Monday night game. Okay, interesting. All right, cool.
Yeah, right now it's Kansas City, Denver. So
got you. All right. Oh, Kansas City, Denver is going to be that game. All right, that'd be a good game.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
And
cool.
then we said we couldn't lay it too many points.
No. I'm not going to be touched. But I all right. Well, remember in the old days, the Monday night game used to be the game that you try to
bail out.
You try to get out of the hole, man. It was a get out game. I used to sit in class in college and sit there with the newspaper and just try to figure out is there any way, you'd be $500 in the hole, and then you're trying to figure out what if I tease the favorite down with the total. By the way, don't tease totals, guys. Don't tease totals.
No.
6 points are more valuable on a spread than they are on a total. It's so easy to stay outside of the total. So just keep that in mind. But as a kid, man, I used to, that was the way out of the hole. I'm giving you guys lessons that you can avoid. Hopefully some of you young guys and you old ones who make the same mistakes. I try not to make those mistakes anymore. Man, I used to sit there in class and be like,
dude, same thing. Give me a 200 reverse. If I bet a $200 reverse.
You guys don't know what reverses are. There's no reverse, if bets and reverses and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know where I used to listen, I went to Lehigh, and the Sands now is there, the casino.
Yeah.
Over in Bethel, which was not there, thank God, when I was going to school. You know what we used to do? We used to drive to Philly Park.
Oh God, yes.
We used to leave. My God. We used to leave campus. I used to have a phone account. I used to play the horses. I used to sit in economics class, handicap horses, get back to my dorm and put them in over the phone. It was bad. One of my college roommates, who's worth now about 50 million, 75 million. He sold his dad's company, and he comes. His son goes to the University of Tampa, which is I can't believe that. But his son goes to UT down here, and we meet up. And he loves talking about it. He goes, remember when we were so degenerate that we'd go rent none of us had a car. We'd go rent a car to drive to Philadelphia Park and go put horses in.
That's the greatest. That's the best. Oh my God.
Been a for way too long, man.
Yeah. Oh, brother, the best, man. Oh, I love it.
Listen, this was fantastic. We'll do it more. We'll get the Geek
Stats. I love it, man. And we got to be doing some hoops together as well.
We will. Yeah, we will. As the season progresses, we still got a lot more football to go. We'll do a bunch. We'll figure out some stuff to do, and some interesting stuff. We'll get the Geek on and we'll break his balls for like.
I love it.
An hour
I
and a
love
half.
it.
All right,
Hey,
brother.
it was fun, brother. Great stuff, man.
I loved it. Guys, appreciate you all being here with us. And as always, listen, download the app, download the Sharp app. You get to look at Jason. I don't know if you've checked out Jason, by the way. She's been giving out the free bets of the day.
She doesn't lose.
She's awesome. She's a lot of fun. And she's dealing with she had a surgery, so she's been away for a few days, but she'll be back on the app. So go check out Jason on the app. Me, all the other good. We got some great articles on there. We got the Val parlay of the day, which you want to check out. Just a lot of good stuff and more stuff to come. So again, I appreciate it. We actually have 2 Italian guys, so we can call 2 wise guys doing the show today. Again, guys, appreciate you all being here.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next week.